You need a stick for this, right?
No? We are going to perform in a bit.
Yeah.
Just kidding. You saw how that went right now.
But these are so tempting, well organized and well arranged.
Indeed. The members of Soul Creation is comprised of friends and family. Two of their members had never heard of Swami before, and in one of their many travels had the privilege to come to Swami. After their experiences with Swami and their travels, they were inspired to create Soul Creations, an acronym which means Spirit of Universal Love. The members of Soul Creation will talk more about it in their program. We welcome you all on stage.
great, supreme, living spirit of all of creation, known by many names. Some people say Krishna, Buddha, Jah, Rastafari, Jehovah, Ra, Vishnu, Jesus, Allah, whatever you call that name, we give thanks by pouring and saying libation.
Libation.
We give thanks to our ancestors, all of us. We are all one, part of the human family. We all have ancestors who came before us, who paved the way for us to be here today. We honor them, for without them, we would not be here today. We give thanks to our ancestors by pouring and saying libation.
Libation.
We give thanks to Sri Sathya Sai Baba, who has made this moment possible, whose name we honor here today. We give thanks to Baba by pouring and saying libation.
Libation.
And we give thanks to the children, to those who we paved the way for, to those who are born and yet to be born, to all the children for whom we are models for. We honor them by pouring and saying libation.
Libation.
And it is done. Cyber.
This is where you get to participate in the program. The two first stanzas will be me, and then it becomes bhajan style. There are names that you can call if you need anything at all. And there is power in all those names. And that power we all can claim by singing Jesus, 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 Jesus.
Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
Calling on the power of Jesus.
Calling on the power of Jesus.
Krishna, 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 Krishna.
Krishna, 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 Krishna.
Calling on the power of Krishna.
Calling on the power of Krishna.
Buddha, 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 Buddha. Calling on the power of Buddha.
Calling on the power of Buddha.
Rama, 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 Rama. Calling on the power of Rama. Allah, Allah, Allah. Calling on the power of Allah. Baba, 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 Baba. Calling on the power of Baba.
Calling on the power of Baba.
Calling on the power of Baba.
Calling on the power of Baba.
Calling on the power of Baba.
Calling on the power of Baba.
There is joy in the names. There is joy in the name. There is peace in the name.
There is peace in the name.
There is love in the name.
There is love in the name.
There is power in the name.
There is power in the name.
There is joy, joy in the name.
There is joy, joy in the name.
There is peace, sweet peace in the name.
There is peace, sweet peace in the name.
There is love, pure love in the name.
There is love, pure love in the name.
There is power in the name.
There is power in the name.
There is joy, joy, joy in the name.
There is joy, joy, joy in the name.
There's peace, sweet peace in the name.
There is peace, sweet peace in the name.
There's love, love, love in the name.
There is love, love, love in the name.
There is power 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 in all his name.
Sairam. Good evening. We are Soul Creations, and as it was mentioned, SOUL is an acronym for Spirit of Universal Love. And that acronym came about in 1989. I embarked on a soul-searching journey, traveling around the world, trying to find myself, my own soul. Years later, Jazzy and I traveled overseas, and we took that word soul and we said, you know, soul is what the journey was about, but what does soul really mean to us? Soul is cute, but we wanted some substance. So we realized as we traveled to more than 20 different countries over a 4-year period that it was about spirit, and it was universal. No one culture owned it, no one nationality owned it, not one religion owned it. It was universal, the spirit, and it's based on love. That's how we came about with Soul Creations, Spirit of Universal Love. Because with that spirit, we have the power to create, hence Soul Creations. And that's who we are here today. I'll introduce some of our members. Here we have Mia Logan. She was born and raised in South Korea. She is of dual heritage. She is Korean and African American. She is a program assistant at the Mather. It's a retirement facility in Evanston, Illinois. And she is a trained pianist. So Miss Mia Logan, who just happens to be my wife. And here we have Mr. Jazzy Roberts. From Baltimore, Maryland. He's a staff therapist and a clinical lecturer at Northwestern University at the Family Institute. So he is a family and marriage therapist, and he also supervises those who want to become family and marriage therapists. So if anyone has any information you need on retirement homes, you can talk to Mia. Family and marriage therapy, you can talk to Jazzy. Here we have Monique Isabel. She's a sales assistant for Nabisco. You know, Nabisco, they make snacks and cookies and all that good tasting stuff, right? I see people like, yeah. And Monique uses music as a form of meditation to soothe her body, her mind, and her soul. And last but not least, I don't think she needs an introduction. I think most of you all know her. But since we're introducing everyone else, I'll say this is Crystal Harris from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who resides on the south side of Chicago. And one thing some of you all may not know about Crystal is that she sung in a gospel choir that was nominated for 2 Grammys. Yeah. That's why we give Crystal the mic for the singing and I use it for the speaking. So what you have here before you, just to explain briefly, some of the instruments, these are junjuns. Can everyone say junjun? Very good. And the junjuns consist of 3 drums. There's, and then there's, and then there is. This is the father, this is the mother, and this is the baby. So you can see by that shows the African value of family. So these originate from West Africa, where Jazzy and I spent over a year traveling and living, and we also learned to play these drums and we shipped them here all the way to the US. These three drums correspond with these drums, which are called the djembe. Everyone say djembe. Djembe. Very good. The djembe has three sounds: the bass, the tone, and the slap. And that corresponds with the three sounds on the junjun. And these drums have been played together. They come from the kingdom of Mali. And they have been played for over 700 years from the kingdom of Mali. So these are very ancient instruments. And these drums are used to honor the Creator. They're used to honor the ancestors. And they are used to tell a story. So here in our performance today, we're telling the story of our love and honor for Sai Baba. And we are honoring him as an ancestor and as part of that creative power and spirit. Next we have the balafon, where Chazzy is at now. These instruments come from the kingdom of Mali as well. This is the ancestor to the xylophone. You say everyone know a xylophone? This is where the xylophone came from. These as well come from the kingdom of Mali. You want to pick it up? And this is made, these are gourds on the bottom. And on the top, these are what you call the tongue. Each slab of wood is a tongue, and each tongue has a gourd that goes with it. Typically, there's 16 to 21 different tongues, all of different tones, and these are ceremonial instruments as well. This one is the father, that one is the mother, correct. So they're played in unison. And then we have the didgeridoo. Everyone say didgeridoo. And it comes from? Australia, absolutely, from the Australian Aboriginals. Another instrument that's used in ritual, in ceremony, and this instrument has been played for over 1,000 years. Now, I just want to clarify something. When I say instruments, in most indigenous cultures around the world, definitely throughout Africa, including in Australia, instruments were not for entertainment. They were used in ritual, they were used in ceremony, and they were used to communicate history and a message. So we are not so much entertaining playing instruments as we are communicating and honoring here today. So these all have a functional purpose. Did I miss any other instruments? We have the kalimba. Everyone say kalimba. And that some people call it a thumb piano. I will be playing this a little bit later. This is a Western version of the mbira. The mbira is the indigenous African version where this instrument comes from. So this is the kalimba, and I play it with my thumbs. You won't be able to see it, but you'll be able to hear it. And lastly, I think, we have the shekere. Everyone say shekere. Another gourd or calabash that's hollowed out. You put the shells around it, and you play it. Did I cover everything? And another version of a shaker, and these are actually shells from the kola nut. The kola nut is used for many purposes throughout the continent of Africa and other places around the world, and these shells come from the kola nut. Did I cover it? So what we're going to do for the next few moments is we're going to play some music, we're going to tell some stories about Sai Baba. That's what we're here for today. Crystal, myself, and Chazzy will give you a brief synopsis of our experience meeting Sai Baba, and we'll intersperse it with music, and then we'll end it with a bang. Everybody okay with that? Yes. Okay, Sairam?
Sairam. That was an interesting history lesson in these instruments, these strange instruments that you see here on stage. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I came to meet Swami. And somebody alluded to this morning, that I heard this years ago before I ever heard of Swami, that he has a calling card. Nobody can come to him unless he calls them. So, and for those people who are new to Swami, new to his fold, or fairly new, you've had your own calling card, or you will. So this is mine. Just as Brother Gilo said, I sang in a pretty decent choir, pretty decent gospel choir that belonged to a New Age philosophical church. And so in the choir stand, this friend of mine, her name, I'll honor her. She's moved on, and I'll honor her by calling her name in this auspicious gathering. Her name is Harveen McGee. She was a dear friend of mine. And she was reading a book one day, sitting beside me in the choir stand. And I was reading over her shoulder, and she noticed that. So I asked her, "What is that you're reading?" Because I had read some kind of strange stuff in it. And I said, "What is that you're reading?" And she, just to goad me, she said, "Oh, it's about the Avatar." So I thought, okay, I never heard the word Avatar. So I figured she was leading me on, and I said, "So, what's an avatar?" And she said, "It's the incarnation of God." Well, in New Thought, we taught that God is everywhere, in everyone, evenly present in all things. So that part of the answer didn't surprise me, but the part about incarnation did. And so I said, "What do you mean, incarnation of God?" And she said, "I mean, God is in a body on earth in a human form." Well, that freaked me out. Now I'm tripping. So I said, I repeated what she said, and then she repeated it back to me, only a little slower, as if I was slow. And then she asked me if I wanted a book. And I told her, yes, of course. Next week, she brought me back the book. So while I was reading the book, I got a little nervous. Because I'm reading stuff, gurus. What the heck? What a guru, really? And so I said, I thought to myself, I closed the book, and I thought to myself, you don't even have Jesus down pat. So now you're going off in another direction with this guru. What is the problem? But just as clear as if I'm talking to you with this mic, a voice came to me and said, "There's no need to fear, there's only one." I opened the book back up, and the book seemed to fall. You know how a picture, the paper is a little different from the rest of the pages? And on that picture, it seemed to be an outline. It was Swami's face with an outline of Jesus. And the voice said again, "There's no need to fear, there's only one." So 6 trips and 8 interviews later, here I am. And on one of those trips is where I met Brother Gilo and Brother Jazzy, walking down a dusty road in Puttaparthi, all regal in their African garb, crown of locks on their head, broad smiles on their faces, and they still got them. And that's where we met, living only 45 minutes away from each other. We met all the way across on the other side of the world. And we've been friends ever since. Sai Ram.
Okay, so my name is Jazzy Roberts, and I'm happy to be with you all tonight. So I'm going to try to share my Baba experience. The thing is, it's an experience that I could probably talk about for a lifetime, but I got to try to condense it to like 5 minutes. So just bear with me, but I'm going to try to give you nuts and bolts. And because of that, and I know because of how much there is, I wrote it down. So I'm going to read it to you just to kind of keep myself focused. Okay. Oh, like, why can't I see? I was trying to figure that out. What's wrong with my phone? It's not... Thank you. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So, some years back, I embarked on a soul-searching journey. A journey of self-discovery. So I felt lost, I felt unfulfilled as an African-American man in America. Just as a man, I was feeling a bit unfulfilled, and also a bit as a human being. The question really was, who am I? Who am I and what am I doing here? What's my purpose? This journey took me around the world for over 3 years, as Gilo was speaking to earlier, across America to the South Pacific, Southeast Asia, India, and with the intention to make it back to West Africa, my ancestral home. Little did I know, before getting to Africa, Baba had other plans for me. So the craziest piece to me about my particular Baba story, at least I think it's crazy, is that upon arrival to Puttaparthi, I had no idea who Swami was. I had never even heard of him until maybe a few weeks prior, maybe a month or so prior I'd heard of him. But that didn't matter because clearly he knew me. I learned later from Crystal, as she mentioned earlier today, that you don't go visit Baba, he calls you to him. I remember the first time seeing an image of Baba when we were in Singapore at an Indian restaurant. And I guess what struck me most, again, I have no idea who he is. What struck me most was his fro, I just gotta be honest. And what struck me also was that he looked like my Uncle Earl. And that was the first thing I said, Uncle Earl, what are you doing in Singapore? Like he used to wear his fro back in the 70s. I had no idea what I was in store for. So now I'm gonna jump. So a lot of things happened between the time in Singapore and the time we finally did get to India and then ended up in Puttaparthi. But I'm gonna speak of what I call the 6 days that changed my life. We were there for 6 days. So we were arriving in Puttaparthi with my 2 comrades, Gilo being one, and Brother Jude, who's not here. There's so much for me to share right now in terms of like what was going on, what was going through me emotionally. Because again, just mind you, I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. I'm just observing things and trying to kind of get a feel of what this is all about. Who's this Baba guy and what's all the hoopla about? So I'll just say, without like all the details, because there are a lot, that in that 6 days, 6 days, I had an opportunity to witness Baba materialize Vibhuti for a devotee, like literally one person in front of me. Even before that, the first day, I noticed the energy of the devotees around him. I was like, wow, they really like this guy. And I think on day 2 is when I saw the Vibhuti. He came very close to where I was sitting. I managed to get a close spot to the aisle and saw him materialize the Vibhuti. This is also within the 6 days. So I got to witness the Vibhuti. I decided to write a letter. I saw people handing him stuff. I didn't know what are these? What's people giving him letters? I decided to write a letter. The next day, he took my letter. I had 2 interviews with him in that 6 days. One, in the first one, he was caressing my face. Still, mind you, I didn't realize what most of this meant until after the fact, but it was so powerful in the moment. So he's caressing my face, he's interviewing the three of us, actually, at the same time, and he kind of went down one. That was one of the funniest moments. We were talking about it afterwards. We were like the Three Stooges up there. We didn't know what to do with ourselves. And he's small, and we're huge, and we're trying to like this. So we had the interviews. He received my letter. We had the 2 interviews, and then he materialized 2 gifts for me, which I have with me. This, my food tickets. This bracelet, and this ring of Shirdi Baba. I have on my neck because I don't want to damage it on the drum. I feel blessed and honored to be here today. And I think that about sums it up. Sai Ram. Thank you.
Eh Baba Ada, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Eh, Baba Ada, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Baba Ah, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Baba Amaleka Baba Allah.
Eh Baba Ada, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Eh, Baba Ada, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Baba Ah, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Baba Alaleka Baba Ada.
Eh Baba Ada, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Eh, Baba Ada, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Baba Ah, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Baba Alaleka Baba Ada.
Eh Baba Ada, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Eh, Baba Ada, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Baba Ah, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Baba Alaleka Baba Ada.
Eh Baba Ada, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Eh, Baba Ada, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Baba Ah, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Baba Alaleka Baba Ada.
Eh Baba Ada, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Eh, Baba Ada, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Baba Ah, Alaleka Baba Ada.
Baba Alaleka Baba Ada.
Sairam, I realized I forgot to introduce myself. I don't count that much, so I apologize for that. So my name is Dr. Gilo Kwesi Logan. I'm not a medical doctor, I'm a doctor of education. I was born and raised in Evanston, Illinois, and I serve as the president of Logan Consulting Services. We are a leadership and diversity consulting firm. So working with different corporations, law enforcement, educational institutions, and helping individuals who are trying to lead and succeed in a very complicated world. I've been very fortunate and blessed to have spent over 7 years traveling to 23 different countries throughout North America, the Caribbean, the South Pacific, Central America, the Middle East, in West Africa and Asia. So I'll tell you a very brief version of my Baba story. Like Chazzy and Crystal, I could be here for days telling you the story, but I'll give you a 5-minute version. So in 1990, as I said, I was a young boy on a soul-searching journey. I was traveling by myself. I was in Singapore, and I was walking in the area of Little India. And as I'm walking down the street, and there's people all over the place, I'm walking, and what caught my eye was this image of this man with this afro. And I said, wait a minute, he looks like my Uncle Melvin. So I went into the store. I said, excuse me, man, who is this man? And the woman looked at me and looked away, and she kept talking to the other person. I said, excuse me, who is this man? She said, oh, Sai Baba, don't worry about him. I was like, wait, Sai who? Like, Baba what? Who is he? I had to know. And for whatever reason, she would not give me much information about him. And the person that I was with said, okay, Gilo, hurry up, let's go. So I'm looking at the picture, okay, all right, bye. So I left. 6 years later, I'm traveling with Chazé and Jude, a friend of ours who is not here today. And we're in Singapore, and that's where the story picks up that Chazé said. We were in the restaurant, an Indian restaurant, and I remember this woman walked in, and I thought she looked very mean. I said, wow, she looks scary. Who is this woman? And as we're eating, I look at her, and I placed a judgment on her, is what I did. And as we finished eating, and we were looking at these life-size images of this man with this afro. And we're like, who is this man? So we finished eating, we walked around the corner, and I like to read, and I saw a bookstore. So I went into the bookstore, and lo and behold, who's the owner of the bookstore? The woman that I saw in the restaurant, who I thought looked so mean. And she was the sweetest woman I had ever met. And I realized I judged her based on how she looked, or what I thought she was. And I asked her about this man with the afro, and she introduced me to a book on Sai Baba, The Advent of Sri Sathya Sai Baba. That's the first book that I read. I read it religiously, like food. I read it day and night, and I was transformed by this story. And I said, I must meet this man, not knowing it was him calling me. So as Chazé said, we traveled to India. I won't repeat everything that he said, but I'll add that when we were entering the ashram, I looked and I said, oh, all these people left their shoes out here. Like, what happened? Like, what? Did they lose them? I didn't know what was happening back then. So I look at all the shoes, and then we walk in, and people are telling us to be quiet, and they're saying Sai Ram, and I'm like, wait, what is this? I like this. So we check in, and for 6 days we were there, and what stood out to me was the peace and tranquility that fed my soul. The diversity of people really stood out to me. And just this energy of a daily meditation. And on our 5th day, as I'm sitting there, about 8 people in front of me, as Baba comes out, and he's walking, and I'm praying, and I'm trying to send him my energy. And as Chazé said, I wrote him a letter, and I put a question in there. I said, if this man is who he says he is, I'm going to write a question, and I'm going to see if he can answer it. So I wrote a letter, I put a question in there, and mind you, everybody's respectful. So everybody's sitting like this, right? And there's like 8 people in front of me, and I knew not to stand up, and I reached my arm 8 feet long. And somehow, Baba was looking that way, and as he turned around, he grabbed my letter, and he kept going. I'm like, oh my God, he took my letter. The next day, he called us in for an interview. And as Chazé said, there were 3 of us, he was interviewing us. He pulled me into a separate room, and he told me what my question was. He told me the answer to that question that I didn't even tell Jude or Chazé. And at that moment, that really said something to me. and he manifested some gifts for me. He gave me some love, some knowledge, some wisdom. We walked out of there. I walked back into the ashram. I sat in my seat, and one of the manifestations was a ring. And as I sat there, I was like in a daze, and people all around me were swarming me to see the ring and touch it, and they were putting it on their forehead. I had like an out-of-body experience, like I wasn't even really there. One of the things Sai Baba told us at the end of that, he said, be ready. You have to be prepared. Like, ready for what? I didn't have the courage to ask him, ready for what? I felt like I was supposed to know that. So we left, we went to our room that night, and we debated, we contemplated for hours and hours and hours. Like, what did he mean? And what did this mean? And what did he say? We said, I don't know what, but let's pack our bags and be ready, just in case. We don't know what he meant. Let's pack our bags. The 6th day we went, we're sitting there again, and he called me in again, the second day in a row. And as I got up, I told Jude and Chad, I said, come. And we went in there, and it was just the 3 of us. And as we're sitting there, we had this transformative moment. And he gave us the encouragement to travel to Africa to research our roots and our culture, which is exactly what we did after we left India, which is where this comes from. He encouraged us to figure out our identity, and he told us to carry on. And that's exactly what we did. And as we came out, we walked out of there. I didn't even go sit back down. We grabbed our shoes, we grabbed our bags, and we left. We got on the bus, and we headed out. And in closing, I'll just say that amongst many things that Sai Baba did for me, one of the quotes that sticks with me is that hands that serve are holier than lips that just pray. That spoke to me. That really, really spoke to me. To serve God through serving humanity, that really, really spoke to me. And lastly, I'll say that the advice that Sai Baba gave me when we were one-on-one in the room, and what he told me is exactly what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. told my father when my father was Dr. King's bodyguard. Sai Baba said the same thing that Dr. King said in 1963. And from that point on, my life has never been the same. Sai Baba.
So I just want to share the last song that we did is a homage. It's a Malinke song from West Africa and Mali, the song that Mia was singing up here. And I just wanted to let you all know the meaning of that song basically is paying homage. Typically it pays homage to the Jali, which is the griot, the storytellers in West Africa. But we changed Jali to Baba, and so it's paying homage to Baba.
This is a Jesus bhajan. In light of the cultural expansion and inclusion, we're going to include Jesus. You might want to learn this later. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hail, hail, you're my King. Your life frees me to sing. I'll praise you all my days. You're perfect in all your ways. Hail Jesus, you're my Lord. I will obey your word. I want to see your kingdom come. Not my will, but yours be done. Glory, glory to the Lamb. You will take us into the land. We will conquer in your name and proclaim that Jesus reigns. Hail Jesus, you're my Lord. Jesus, how powerful you are. Hail, hail, Lord of my life. How wonderful you are. Hail Jesus, you're my King. Your life frees me to sing. I will praise you all my days. You're perfect in all your ways. Hail, hail, you're my Lord. I will obey your word. I want to see your kingdom come. Not my will, but yours be done. Glory, glory to the Lamb. You will take us into the land. We will conquer in your name and proclaim that Jesus reigns. Say, hail, hail, Lion of Judah. How powerful you are. Hail, hail, Lion of Judah. How of my life. How glorious you are. How powerful you are. How beautiful you are. How glorious you are. How wonderful you are. That song is a gospel song written by a gospel singer named Donnie McClurkin, and he actually wrote it Bajan style.
So we are going to end with a celebratory rhythm. We're going to mix a couple of rhythms together. These are all traditional rhythms from West Africa. The song is from West Africa, and it's all honoring the Creator, honoring our ancestors, and these are often played as a rites of passage. So you earn the right to have the passage. And we wanted to honor this ceremony, honor this retreat, and honor Sai Baba. Thank you.
And the song we're going to do right now is called Kaira Silo. It means the way of peace. So we are happy that you arrived here safely, and we hope that you depart here safely and in peace. I don't think my mic is on. Is my mic up? Q&A. Okay, and we'll have some time for questions and answer at the end, if you like. Kairasi lo le yeng nati. Na yon yube, na yon mutakun. Katong bang bang le yeng nu balafa. Billy lon yunu na baladi yona. Katuni ya wo si ya twa. Na yon yube, na yon mutakun. Naktung jang jang le yeng balafa. Aye, oh. Kairasi lo leyen nati. Na yon yube, na yon mutakun. Katong jawo le ying balafa. Billy lon yunu nabula di yona. Katini ya wo si ya twa. Na yon yube, na yon mutakun. Katung jang jang le ying balafa. Aye, oh, Kairasi lo le yeng nati. Kayon yube, kayon mutakun. Katung ya wo si ya twa. Billy yon gunu kanu wali bala. Bali yon lundu na bula. Na yon ube, na yon mutakun. Katung jang jang li ying balafa. Aye, oh, Kairasi lo le yeng nati. Na yon yube, na yon mutakun. Katung jang jang le ying balafa.
Y'all almost made me break out in a dance.
So,
Yeah.
So we want to thank you all for being a great audience. Again, we're not performing, we are sharing, we are communicating, we're feeding off of your energy. We are all one here today. So we would like to take a few moments in case anyone has any questions about anything that you see, anything you heard, maybe what you didn't hear, what you don't see, any questions at all. We would like to entertain them. Yes. The question was, how do we connect our music to Baba? Great question. So in the tradition, we are African Americans, and in reclaiming and rediscovering our culture, music was a part of that. And in doing that, we learned, as I mentioned before, music. So in the continent of Africa, there's thousands of languages. And to my knowledge, which is only this much, but to my knowledge, there is not one language that has a word for entertainment. There's no concept of entertainment. It doesn't exist to entertain someone. There's a proverb that says, if you can walk, you can dance. If you can talk, you can sing. So in the Western culture, people say, oh, can you sing? Oh, no, I can't sing. But if you can talk, you can sing because it's used for a purpose. So what we learned, and the way that we connect it is the rhythms we play, why we play, how we play, is all connection to what Baba told us to do when we were in India, and he instructed us to go to Africa, learn your culture, learn your heritage, be proud of that, and share it with the world. So as we play, we're honoring what he told us to do, and we are also telling some stories of Sai Baba through our music. Great question, thank you.
Yeah, I would just add that, to love all, serve all, and music for us, a big part of it is service. Like it's really not, it's entertaining, but it's about service. And a lot of the work that we do is with the youth. And so we're serving the community through working with youth, teaching them about culture, helping them to get on their journey and see where they're trying to go with their life. And music is just a vehicle, and it's fun too.
Any other questions? I feel one. You just don't want to ask. It's okay. Yes, thank you. Sure, I'll give a perspective and we can all chime in. The question was, how we went to Puttaparthi, we saw Baba, and how did that fulfill our purpose, if I understand? And I would just simply say, we have not fulfilled our purpose. I don't want to speak for them. Maybe Christo had, I don't know. I have not fulfilled my purpose. I am trying hard every day in every way to do that. And I've learned that it is a journey. It's not a crown that I wear on my head, Sai Baba, and I saw him in an interview. That was the challenge. That was the biggest challenge, to cultivate my own humanity and to live out those principles. So for me, and I think we have not fulfilled our purpose. It is a process. Thank you. And again, anyone can chime in.
I would totally add that, it's about the journey. The trip to Puttaparthi was kind of symbolic because really, from my perspective, had it not had any experience with Sai Baba, it was part of a greater journey, at least in my mind. Clearly there was more to that journey than I realized, but the purpose has not been served. It's an ongoing journey. Today is part of that, and the purpose continues to transform, it continues to grow. as Baba kind of instructed us, like be ready.
And I would add, even Baba's value of education and education cultivating character. After we met Sai Baba, like Jazzy, for example, he went on to get his second master's degree. From that inspiration. Myself, I went on to get a doctorate degree. But we also understand education is not just in school, right? Education is in life. So we try to be students of life as we learn our way through this journey. And yes?
Do you have any advice on Indian American youth and how we come to terms with our identity?
Wow. How much time do we have? That's a great. So the question is, do we have any advice for Indian American youth in terms of discovering your identity? I'll briefly, first I'll say, I'll be glad to talk to you afterwards. I'll give you my business card. I brought plenty of them. But that is my area of expertise as a diversity consultant and speaker. In the interest of time, the shortest thing I would say is that, like, my doctoral research was on racial and ethnic identity development. So how do we go about developing an identity? And as Indian Americans, I think about it as, in a sense, African Americans. And there's a scholar, his name was W.E.B. Du Bois, and he had a concept called the dilemma of the double consciousness. The dilemma of the double consciousness. So I relate, and he's an African American. So hence we're both African and we're American, and we're constantly trying to reconcile that. And depending on what setting we're in, what circles we're in, that's a very challenging process. So I would say, I think, and I can't speak for you, but that dilemma of the double consciousness, being Indian, perhaps by nationality, perhaps by culture, but also being American, creates this dilemma, this many challenges. And again, I really would welcome a conversation with you. I think, because it's a very difficult thing. The shortest answer I could say is we have to invest the energy into trying to figure that out. Because too often we just go about life, we're busy, work, job, commitments, cell phone, technology, and we don't have time to be a human being. We are human doings. We're so busy doing that we find hard time just to be. And it's in that space that I believe we ask those questions, and that's where we begin to discover those answers. But that's a great, great question. I'd be glad to talk to you about more. Any?
Well, okay, so from a behavioral mental health perspective, so when I was studying, one of my classmates was Pakistani American, and she talked about this concept of being like a dash American. And so there's the dilemma, but then there's also like finding a way to be present with both. So in embracing each, you become, in essence, something different. But I think part of the journey is figuring out what that different thing is. That's usually where the dilemma kind of comes into place, because you're trying to embrace two pieces of yourself, but you don't know what that means in terms of something new. What is that dash American thing? But that's it's deep.
And I think an important part is simply asking the questions and asking the right questions, because the questions we ask a lot of times determine the answers we'll find. And if we're not asking the questions, we're not going to, if we don't ask that question, we probably won't discover the answer to that. So I really say that, the process of identity development, it begins, when does that process begin? When we develop our identity? It never begins? Birth. So the identity process begins before we were born. Because if you think about it, we're born into a family, we're born into a culture, a lot of times we're born into a religion, so there's a set of values, there's a set of expectations, a set of behaviors that we're born into that shape and mold who we are before we even realize it. So I think the beginning of some of those questions goes back to, as far as we can, to figure out not just who we are, but why are we the way that we are? And then that goes into our life story, that goes back to our childhood, understanding our parents, our culture, our grandparents, all those things that we were born into. I think that's where a part of that journey begins. One more question? Two more? One?
5 more?
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this. It's so wonderful, and a lot of us were not aware of what we have shown. I'm curious. Hope you remember me.
I sure do.
We both met. Yeah. Did you try to? Did you try to take the next steps on the value education?
So the question is, did we take the next steps on the values education? So we were in the workshop, was that last year? About a year ago. So that's where we met. And my wife was also in that session. So yes, we have taken steps forward with the values in education. And that is, I also try to weave that into my work as a consultant. As a consultant, I do a lot of work with children. So we've been able to implement some of that in schools and within our community. So that's a long story short. So yes, and those are some of the ways how. And as we teach, we learn. Thank you for asking. Anyone else before we close it out? Yes.
Oh, you didn't introduce that one.
Yes. Thank you for that. So the question is the conch shell. This was a gift that was given to me in 1989 when I was in the Fiji Islands. That's the first country I went to outside of the US. And there, again, long story short, one of the Fijians gave me this as a gift. Now, mind you, I was a backpacker traveling around the world trying to figure myself out. So I said, how am I going to get this home? So I actually packed it up, nice and secure, and I shipped it home. So when I returned home 2 years later, there it was. So this is from the floor of the Pacific Ocean, and it's a conch shell. So yes, you will have the little sea animal that goes in there and lives, and this becomes their home. So there's no animal in there now. But it's a sea creature that uses this as their home. And the conch shell, there's a small hole that's drilled right there, and that's where I blow into. And it's not just blowing like, but you have to vibrate your lips, and that's how I make that sound. And it was a call to attention. When I blew it, it was a call to attention. It's a call for to clear out all the negativity, and it's a call to invite all the positivity. And in some cultures, they have a shell. Some cultures, they have a piece of wood. Some cultures, they use a horn from an animal. So that's a universal concept that was just shown in Fiji in this way with the conch shell. See, there we go. So this being used as a good omen, for example, in some of the weddings in India, and I'll use that to say, again, as a consultant, I got to speak from that. We talk about diversity, and a lot of people think of diversity being difference. Diversity is not difference. Diversity begins with the commonality that we all share. And that's the basis upon which we can learn from our differences, but that's one of the commonalities amongst different cultures. So thank you for asking that question. Okay, we will like to conclude. And in closing, just want to give a special thank you to our dear big sister, Crystal. Because we met her in India. Again, we lived 45 minutes away, but we had to go to Puttapadu to meet. Okay, so be it. But as we returned, we stayed connected through Sai Baba and through the teachings of Baba. So I want to thank you for that. And also while we were there, we talked about, you know what, this experience is so great. Like, we have to do something more than just have a good experience. We have to do something with this. Well, this was a manifestation of the conversations we had in India back in 1996, I think that was. So from that time until this time, we've stayed close. We may not see each other for a year or two, but we're always connected through Sai Baba. So Crystal, we just want to say thank you, because as we've returned to the U.S., Crystal has also been a teacher for us. She really helped us to understand our experience meeting Sai Baba, because like Jazzy said, we didn't make sense of it until really after the experience. And she really helped us to better understand Sai Baba, hence better understand who we are. And we want to thank you for this opportunity here today, Crystal. Thank you so much, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. Soul creation. You can stay there. We have gifts for you. Yes, yes. And we want to thank you for this experience. This has not been, like you said, this hasn't been entertainment. This has actually been a serious experience. I'm grateful for it. We have been talking about it a long time. I'm glad it finally manifested. So we have gifts for you before you go. We also have some dinner. I know you're hungry. But we want to give these gifts to you in honor of this program that we put together, this effort, this teaching, I mean, all these instruments that people have never seen or heard from, sharing our experiences. This has really been a great experience, I'm sure, for everybody, including me. So,
Yeah, for sure.
ladies, big bags to take home. Okay.
Thank you.
One is for you.
I just want to say, for us, you are the gift. Really, really. We had a lot of fun. This was the gift. You all are the gift. Sai Baba is the gift. So we all share in the gifts. So thank you.
Thank you for your friendship and your love. Thank you. That is wonderful.
Wow. All of this? Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, that's right. Gifts for you too. So thank you all. We felt like we were here with family today. We really felt you all. We felt your energy, your spirit. And thank you for staying, because not everyone, people have other things to do. But thank you all. Sai Ram, anything else? Jazzy, Monique, Crystal, Mia, Sai Ram.